is Arthur Hon. I'm the beverage manager at Momofuku Co. Co, as we refer to it, is a third restaurant in the Momofuku group created by David Chang in 2008. And right now you're looking at the newer locations that we moved here in 2014. It's located in the East Village / Lower East Side neighborhood. And we are contemporary American restaurants here in New York. So my first aha moment was my first adult dining experience where, I went to a restaurant, it was a nice restaurant where the server handed me a wine list. And then from that point on where he made a suggestion, so it's actually nothing fancy about the bottle. It's actually Petit Syrah coming from California. So that was my aha moment where I realized that the world of wine existed. And not a lot of people know about this, but I got into a restaurant because I was super shy. Like I've always been extremely introverted growing up. And so when I moved away for college, I realized that has to change. Like I need to learn how to socialize. And so I started considering that how can I, what are the things that I can do to achieve that? And I decided, well, maybe working in a restaurant would be okay. But definitely not bartending, because in bartending, you're trapped behind, you have to talk to the people. You can't escape. But for waiting table or anywhere else, that you get to choose, how much time that you get to spend per table. So that's how I got into restaurant very randomly, just because I thought I need to get over my shyness and also learn how to socialize. And it's in that environment in combination with that aha moment when tasting, I realized that I actually do enjoy this quite a bit. I see beverage and I see wine pairing as more of the supporting act to the food. There are times in the scenes where the spotlight shines on the actors, and I'm thinking about the main actors as a food and the plates. That's all you need. Everything else is in the background, maybe pitch black. So the beverage in certain courses, it's just that to support as a palate cleanser. Because the food itself is so delicate or so simple that you don't want to take anything away from that. But there's time where you have a lot of props or things, very active. Maybe there's music, there's acting, there are dancing around, and then that becomes, something different. So they're almost like a piece of a musical piece, if you will. There's times where very soft and there's times very loud and crescendos. So it's almost like if I do want to assert a stronger wine pairing or beverage pairing voice, and then choose at that specific moment and in time where that makes sense. Maybe the courses transition between, the first few, maybe from temperature changes or texture changes, and then that's when I decided to be louder, to become an added ingredient to the dish itself as opposed to a support. And then so it's kind of, the way that I sort of compose or curate my pairing is that kind of understanding the progressions. There should be always being some up and downs, and they're always in sync with the food. So one of my favorite pairings is actually something that we're doing earlier this year. The dish has two parts. So it's two parts. So one is very minimally treated sushi grade fish with a little bit minimum seasonings to showcasing that. And then the second part is sort of served in a room temperature. So it's, so the more of a cooler temperature. And then the second part to the dish is a broth, which is made with fish bones of the fish that's served on the plate and all other things. So it's super rich and umami and it's served hot. So one thing I enjoy about the challenge at the time was that I knew that I wanted to do just one wine. The way I think about pairing is I want to get into the mind of the chefs. I want to understanding why they make certain decisions. So all those steps inform me how I should take my parts. So once I understanding that, that this dish needs, one thing I've realized that the dish doesn't have a lot of acidities, and that kind of becomes sort of my main focus to that. So I was, in the world of wines, I want acid, but I want acid that are strong and firm, but not a lot of, also has textures as well. So it becomes like an intellectual, it's almost like breaking down a puzzle and put it back together. So for me, it's like, okay, here, in the world that you have can you find this like white wine that has textures and very firm acidities, but also does not have sort of a oxidations or similar to sherries or vengeance, like because we have using that for later on in the courses. So, but I tried Chablis, I tried Albariños, I tried white Burgundies, and any sort of high acid grape that I can find, or Rieslings. And then what I actually landed is Caricante in Etna, and then so something that's very lean, mineral driven, has the sort of a precision that I was looking for, but at the same time also textures as well. So it works really well that you can stand up to sort of be soft enough for the delicately treated fish, but at the same time has the textures and the intensity to counterbalance the umami factors of the broth as well. The worst pairing also happens here, and I think the worst pairing is kind of my whole progression here at Co is that, and also the lesson that I learned, here at Co is that I try to change too much and too quickly. I remember the worst pairing here, and I think the staff will never let me live this down, and is that we had, so here at Co, we serve one of our classic dishes, the Co eggs. So this is the dish that the Dave invented back in the days and 163, and has kind of always, stays throughout. So it's one of the sort of really tried and true dish. So it's a dish with soft boiled eggs that we serve with caviar, some fingerling potato chips, and some onion soubise and sweet potato vinegar. And that's accompanied with our sourdough bread that we bake in the house. And so it always been paired up with a champagne or a sparkling, a Blanc de Blanc. And when I first started, I think about 2 months in, so maybe a month in, I thought that, oh, really great, why don't we change this pairing to another sparkling, that I really love before coming here, but didn't quite really understand the dish itself. So it's actually an English sparkling, which I love on its own, but it really clashed with the dish because it was too fruity. But the staff in here was they're just kind of let me be and let me kind of fumble on my own and then kind of pick myself up after that. So they ran with it. So afterward, I finally had a chance to taste the sparkling and the food. I was like, this was horrible. I'm very much a social drinker. So I will love, like, the most memorable time of me having dinner and have wine, or the combinations of both, is with friends, with people that I love. It's that itself kind of, and I feel like one of my true belief is that wine should be very approachable, because I truly get pleasure out of that social environment. Because for me, that, aside from the nerdy and the super, information-loaded fields of wine and tasting can be super intellectual. But for me, that's pleasurable, but you can kind of do this on your own, It's a different kind of pleasure. It's more about satisfying that curiosity in me. But for me, that when I truly enjoy a glass of wine or a bottle of wine or some meal and all of those, is with friends. Is that because you can take away, you don't have to talk about, you can share the tasting notes if you want, but you don't have to talk about it. And that's something that is first and foremost, that bottled wine, however the prestige and price points or all of that, it's just simply grape juice that are being fermented, that you can be super geeky about it, that's okay. But there's also time where you just need to leave that be. And I think that leaving that alone and kind of delve into that sort of pleasure, that hedonism of, that enjoyment is okay. And then that's sort of, for me, that's the best part.